Beth Smith isn't just Rick's daughter, she's his greatest unfinished project. A case study in what happens when you combine abandonment, unfiltered genius, and just enough therapy horses to almost seem okay. She's not the most damaged person in the Smith household, but she is the one who knows she's damaged and still refuses to stop repeating the pattern. In this video, we're unpacking every psychological wound, dysfunctional family dynamic, and clone-related identity crisis that shape Beth into the self-aware mess we can't stop watching. From abandonment to alcoholism, to that very weird romance with herself, this is Beth's trauma, fully explained. Subscribe if you think Beth was doomed the moment Rick made her a sandbox full of death lasers.
For once in my life, I want you to decide, Dad. Do you want me to stay here and be part of your life, or do you want me to leave?
The foundation of Beth's trauma was built early, when Rick vanished from her life without explanation. One minute, he was her godlike father. The next, he was gone, leaving behind dangerous inventions, emotional voids, and a daughter who had to fill the gaps herself. What's left is classic disorganized attachment.
Please don't leave me again.
Beth doesn't know whether to hate Rick, idolize him, or become him. So she tries all three, sometimes in the same scene. She grows up equating worth with intelligence. If she's smart enough, skilled enough, tough enough, maybe Rick will finally stay. She doesn't want his love, she wants to earn it. That's why she becomes a horse surgeon, not because she loves horses, because it sounds smart enough to matter, because deep down, she believes nothing matters unless he says it does. This is the heart of Beth's trauma. She wants to prove she's nothing like him, while replicating every single toxic behavior that made him who he is. She weaponizes intellect, she dismisses emotional vulnerability, she distances herself from her kids while demanding their love. Because if Rick was allowed to disappear, she wants to prove she never needed him in the first place. But Beth's abandonment didn't just leave her scarred, it left her split. And that split becomes literal, because nothing says my dad messed me up like not knowing if you're real.
You told me I wasn't a clone.
You're not a clone.
And who is that?
A clone?
When Rick offered to clone Beth, it wasn't a gift. It was a way to avoid responsibility, a shortcut around emotional intimacy. And more than anything, it was a psychological landmine disguised as freedom. He doesn't just hand Beth a choice, he removes the outcome. One Beth stays to raise her kids, the other becomes a spacefaring rebel. And Rick? He erases the memory of who is who, leaving both versions equally unsure and equally incomplete.
Oh God, I'm a clone.
This isn't just science fiction, it's identity trauma, weaponized. Both Beths spiral into different directions, but with the same central fear. What if I'm not real? What if my choices aren't mine, but Rick's? And the worst part? Rick frames it all as empowerment. You're both real, you're both free. But when your father hands you an existential breakdown and calls it love, it's not freedom, it's fragmentation. That's why the Beth on Beth romance in season 6 isn't just a gag, it's the culmination of Beth's splintered identity. She literally seeks intimacy from herself because she trusts no one else. Not Rick, not Jerry, not even her own instincts. It's self-soothing through narcissism, a closed loop of affection because no one ever taught her how to connect without conditions. When Beth kisses herself, she isn't being bold, she's being desperate. And Rick's response? He shrugs it off, like usual. The clone crisis doesn't split Beth in two. It externalizes her conflict. One side escapes, the other stays. Both are still shackled to the same toxic legacy. And now, they're reenacting that trauma in every relationship, including the one they have with each other.
Jerry, don't leave angry.
When your sense of self is handed to you by someone who never wanted to raise you, even your victories feel scripted. Beth has learned to function through uncertainty, but deep inside, there's still a question Rick refuses to answer, and she's afraid the answer is neither Beth was worth choosing. Beth doesn't just suffer from trauma, she transmits it. That's the final turn in her arc. After years of chaos, abandonment, and internal fragmentation, she slowly begins repeating the exact behaviors she once hated in Rick. She weaponizes her intelligence in arguments, uses sarcasm to dodge emotional intimacy.
What do you think is in the syringe, Beth?
You're the one that costs $200 an hour, you tell me.
And when Summer needs support, Beth shrinks away, asking Morty to emotionally manipulate her instead of, parenting. Just like Rick did to her.
You're gonna believe a play over your own daughter?
Yes, I am, Beth, because you're not my own daughter.
Here's the cycle. Rick traumatizes Beth. Beth internalizes Rick. Then Beth becomes Rick. And the scariest part? She knows it. There's a moment in Season 3, Episode 9, The ABCs of Beth, when she quietly asks Rick, "Am I evil?" Rick doesn't answer because he knows what that question really means. Am I you?
Am I evil?
Worse, you're smart.
But here's the core of Beth's tragedy. She's too self-aware to delude herself and too scared to change. That's not cowardice, it's conditioning. When you grow up thinking love is transactional, self-worth is earned, and identity is optional, healing feels like betrayal. She could run, she could fight, but instead, she drinks wine and pretends it's normal. That's her real escape. Not space, not cloning, just numbing. But every now and then, she almost breaks free. There are moments, quiet ones, when Beth almost reaches for something healthy. She hugs Space Beth without irony. She admits to Morty she might be wrong. She even laughs, genuinely laughs, at Jerry's stupidity. It's rare, but it's real. So what can we learn from Beth Smith? That being aware of your trauma isn't the same thing as healing. That breaking the cycle takes more than intelligence. It takes courage. And that sometimes the smartest person in the room is still a scared little girl, hoping her father will pick her this time.
I'm afraid you'll leave again.
Okay.
Okay?
Beth is brilliant, capable, and deeply broken, but she's still trying. And in a universe full of infinite timelines, maybe trying is enough. So, who do you think is more emotionally repressed, Beth or Rick? Let me know in the comments below, and subscribe if you think cloning yourself is easier than unpacking your issues in therapy.